It's a throwback.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
When I played
Back in when?
a long time ago. I'm not even gonna go there.
What's up? You asked for it, you got it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
We have some of those.
I'm not going over his phone.
You don't have any students on teachers?
They are supposed to be coming out. Mhm.
Practices, we should have a whole line, whole table full.
This picture. Got here. That count.
I got it.
Yeah, for you too. Cause we moved it last one too.
I thought that was my elbows and knees or something like that.
Is that?
Put some
Okay.
WD-40. Yeah.
I'm worried I didn't tell Bear where to go.
What's that?
Mr. Klausman, I don't know if I told him where to go.
I think I told him.
Okay. I am expecting students that are coming out of practice to come and go back to practice, so they might be a little bit late.
At the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a full gym down here today, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I will.
Didn't have any. I looked.
That's what they put the gold in. You gotta be your TV. Yeah. I won't be listening, huh? No. I was told today.
Yes, sir.
And to focus that camera.
My camera doesn't show.
That's all right.
You're bigger.
We like it where there's copies. I wanna. Mirrors are.
Man,
Okay.
there we go.
No, you didn't. I was counting out the hours and you make $120 cameras for the MC3. Every day. Maybe 94. And that's with all the breaks and everything.
Can you hear us, Amber?
Here's there.
And that's
Oh,
right
good.
now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, thank you.
So you have to so those one, I
Larger
don't
than that.
know if that's the thought. You should
She didn't hear, see what we said.
I'm just, it's close.
I don't know what that was about.
But they're close to everything.
She has like a full
So
back
I
drop.
think you could, you just have to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Not on my end. When I saw it.
There you go.
I saw it. No, that's how it works.
Yeah, she that's the meeting she did, the work session she had like your, yes. Can you hear us, Miss Julie?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome, thank you. Was Mr. Maldonado sneezing on your desk? Is that what happened?
You made her come in for this.
I think I got a backup to a backup to a backup.
Andy, you feel like
That's how you do it. Full house, nice.
Good evening, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
President Rao.
Here.
Vice President Rao. Secretary Porterville present. Member Lobato. Present. Member Cisneros.
Okay, thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the zealous symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
I was moving for the black pen, but somebody just jumped down.
Get here.
Actually, part of it.
All right, we'll go on to the approval of the agenda. Mr. Smith.
For presentation, we don't have it here yet, right?
Just one.
Council,
They'll do. I think I'm wait. No?
Well, I know they just got a basketball practice.
Yeah, they got out a little late.
Okay, I'd like to move, presentations, A down to C. So give it a little bit more time.
Thank you.
And then move, executive session, before new business. And the report of the executive session. And possible action items.
And then if we could, Mr. President, move, principal report, high school principal report
To before new business.
for new business as well, just that report.
So you said principals?
Yeah, high school principal.
High school principals?
We're together.
We could do this as well.
You wanna do it?
We can do both if we.
You wanna do both right away?
Just because I have staff present, that way they don't have to stay.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. There they go.
So you guys want principal ahead of executive?
Well, it's like me, it's only because we have staff members reporting, so I didn't want them to have to stay.
So it's not one, you have to remove the entire report.
You can't remove.
You can't remove just one, so it's either you move the entire report up and down to just one section, it's not
It's not listed itself.
11 A, B, C, D, it's 11
Whole
whole.
thing?
Yeah.
I guess once you move 11, then
Yeah.
toward the end, you can do it before maintenance, but you can't move.
You can't move the whole, just those two items by themselves.
No,
You gotta
yeah,
move the whole thing?
you gotta move the whole thing, cause it's one line item.
We were just asking out of courtesy for staff that came to present, that they wouldn't have to wait through. All of
So
that.
you wanna move reports in front of
New business,
new business?
right after the executive session.
So we'll go presentations, executive, and
If
then
Then the
reports.
reports,
we would have known that, we could have put them under presentations, if we would have known, so we didn't have to wait, remember.
you can put the reports in front of the executive.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
got presentations, reports,
Let's
executive.
do reports in front.
Okay.
Reports and then executive.
You guys gotta call for a motion to.
Second.
Everything else is good though. I think so. Okay. The first was Sotero,
I make a motion.
second right now. Mr. Secretary.
Member Cisneros. Yes. Member Lovato.
Yes.
Secretary Cordova, yes. Vice Chair Romero.
Yes.
Vice Chair Real. Or I'm sorry, President Real. Jeez.
Yes. Motion carries. Go on to item A, minutes of special school board meeting December 23rd.
Make a motion to approve special school board meeting minutes for December 23rd, 2023. Second. President Real.
Yes.
Vice President Lemon. Yes. Secretary Cordova, yes. Member Lovato.
Yes.
Member Cisneros. Yes.
Go item B, minutes of school board work session December 21st.
Make a motion to approve.
Member Cisneros.
Yes. Member Buckland?
Yes.
Secretary Corder, yes. Vice President Romero?
Yes.
And President Rath? Yes. Item C, minutes of regular school board meeting December 7th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Member Cisneros?
Yes.
Member Zamato?
Yes.
Secretary Corder, yes. Vice President Romero?
Yes.
President Rath? Yes. So on the agenda, welcome and introduction of guests and staff. Pleasure to see more people in the boardroom this time. Welcome you all. We have 0 for public comment.
Yeah, we have nobody saying that for some reason.
The next item is presentations. We'll go to calendar committee. Huh? What?
Budget.
But I thought you were switching.
Anyway,
things for
I'm gonna
English.
instruct you soon.
So B goes to A.
Okay. Budget then.
Alright.
I thought you just switched the two.
What's that saying, Steph? Because they weren't here yet.
I have two.
It was trying to get-
I got 2 budgets.
Okay, so we did meet last night for our first meeting of the budget committee, getting ready for building the budget over the course of this spring. These are some of the notes we took last night. I can have you go over it at your leisure. Ms. Pena, Amber did join us last night, which was awesome. Kind of gave us some information. She did mention one key point that our projected carryover is actually higher than it was at the work session in December, so we're doing really well there. Kind of the important part toward the bottom is we did have some information requested by the committee, including general costs of running Questa, kind of in a hypothetical, what does that look like as a site? A site-based budget for Alta Vista and the junior high, and a cost breakdown of additional costs that the district would incur for going to a 5-day school week. We'd like to see those numbers just as we make decisions moving forward. We're going to keep reviewing the documents. She gave us the same information that y'all received in that work session as far as budget to actuals and that kind of thing. It was brought up that we'd like to look at renewable energy sources, which actually came up today as part of the legislative session. There are some bills before committees to have incentives for school districts looking at renewable energy sources and that kind of thing. And then I did attach here, which y'all have seen before, the facilities priority list of the big projects, so that the budget committee can keep those in mind moving forward, as we do work to maintain that healthy carryover and stay in the black. So that's pretty much the summary. We will obviously be meeting again regularly through the spring and then making our recommendations to you guys. One key point, which I know Mr. Maldonado brought to you guys last meeting, is that unit value for the SEG funds won't be available till the end of the legislative session, so we're all kind of tentative till we get that unit value in place. So that's pretty much it from our meeting last night. I did invite a couple more community members to join us for the next meeting. Maria Gonzalez, especially now when her position as liaison with the Laura Foundation, will be joining the committee. So we'll be kind of reaching out to community partners there as well.
How many members are we required to have that are from parent-based or community-based?
2.
As a
Minimum of
minimum.
2.
So right now we have 1 joining but 0?
Yeah, and they were invited. There were a couple. It was a pretty quick turnaround. We have several parents from the PTO who are on the mailing. You'll see them CC'd in.
And then, of course, we always have those of us who do both and are part of PTO and are part of staff and our parents.
Specifically on this
We
committee,
got,
we do have
there,
Lita
you can't have an overlap.
But
I
Lita
can't be a
Mead,
board member and
yeah.
a parent.
Yeah.
Lita
It's
Mead
either one
and
of them.
Chrissy Gonzalez are both.
Okay, okay.
Did Becky jump off?
She's still included in the invite, but she didn't attend last night.
one of the things that we discussed is we told them to put a list of all the wishful things that they want, the needs, the wants, and then they gotta separate them, and then one of the most important things that we gotta, even us as a board, evaluate is sustainability is, yeah, maybe we could hold this up for year 1, year 2, but year 3, year 4, year 5, when the money starts to go away, ESSER is gonna go away, we're gonna have to move some full-time some FTEs over to our main budget, and that's gonna show us what it really looks like, so I think we'll have to do a little more deeper thinking of how we wanna handle this. Do we, one of the good things is we are fully staffed now, how do we sustain that, and on top of maintaining our buildings and everything else like that, so that was one of the big things that we wanna see. And then one of the things was the carryover, we had just over $1 million carryover, and we're down to 600,000, so we wanna see what ate into that and why, and then try to figure out how do we
Yeah, we didn't really
try to eliminate that piece, so that way we're not eating into that, so that's where the money or sustainability starts to disappear.
It's not a really positive trend, but hopefully we can get control of it, you know. And I think we need to build those positions into this next budget, because if we just wait until that money's gone, then we'll be in a spot where we have to make a tough decision.
So I think before you guys see the budget, before it comes to the whole board, we'll, we have a lot of homework, I think, to do between now and May.
Was that chunk out of the million, that money that we were gonna have to pay back to the state that we had squirreled away? Is that what that,
There's a portion of that, which was about $100 and some thousand in itself. So there was a portion of that, and then a portion of just to cover the increase. Again, once these pay increases came in, the state funded the pay increase, but they didn't support the increase of benefits and those type of things, and so that kind of cut into that as well as being right at, I think we're about 98% staff. We're down like one position that we could, on paper, that we had as an FTE fill. And so once we started eating into those, that's kind of what ate into that type of thing. So Amber can probably do a better job of getting you the exact number of what went into additional benefits and those type of things as well. And that's been our biggest major purchases. I know that like yesterday I did check in on that with like she had mentioned that the bus cameras, which was like a $30,000 purchase. We actually did use the tech bond money for that, so.
I think she said we're gonna have to move it.
Yeah.
It might not have been.
It may not, so we'll have to, so what we did is, and actually the way the Bureau explained it is we didn't actually ask for reimbursement, we just paid it straight out of there, so it shouldn't have even cut into anything, because with the way that tech bond, we have two choices. We can either submit it out of budget and ask for reimbursement, or we can just pay for it straight out of that tech bond money. So, you know, we do have a lot of homework, especially to do if we're looking at any additional positions, things like that. You kind of saw, I think you sent to me, we're looking at, I think it's like a 4.11 pay increase across the board for all employees. On top of that, they're looking at raising minimal salaries for like your EAs, your cooks, your custodians, and those type. The positive thing is that the district has already moved in that direction. We've already met the minimal what they're looking at for like custodians, so we've already hit that. So we wouldn't have to do that increase. And even with like the 4.11, if as long as we went above the minimum of what they set and it's above 4.11, then we wouldn't have to touch in that either. Now, like with our educational assistants, we brought them up to about 22,000, and they're looking at a minimum of 25,000. So we would have to hit that minimum, and it's not a both. So it's not 25,000 plus the 4.11 increase. It's just the 25, as long as we meet that threshold of 25,000. So there's a lot of things we do need to. It's hard to answer these questions. There's a platform tomorrow that I'm going to try to get into on some of the things with stand rounds, on some of the things that are going to the legislative session that we're going to be seeing. But we can't have that final answer until they go through it, and then of course the governor signs off on everything. So it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game. But I think in the meantime, our goal is to start looking at these things, and either cutting down, if we do have additional positions, can we fill it with an in-house already? How do we make these positions fillable? So we do have a lot of work to do ahead of us.
But that doesn't go with us in 2 years.
So, what I would recommend for all the board is, at your leisure, just take a look at the budget to actuals. That way you can see, just keep an eye on those, and you'll see where some of the things where we've had to pull and where it's going and stuff like that. And I think that's what we're gonna have to truly probably get down to that one.
Just in the order of sticking to the agenda, we still have discussion for budget on new business, so
Yes.
we'll continue. Is there anything else for budget committee?
Fun time.
All right, we'll go to calendar.
Yeah, I have it here.
Did you double again?
There's two.
I love to read, so.
I believe, well, that's on the 12th, we met, we also solicited to get some students involved to the entire process of all committees.
Yeah.
Although that day, they all had practice except one. So we did have 4 staff members, Miss McDonald, 1 student, and then Juan, Kelly, and superintendent present. So we pretty much started the discussion with, I guess at a previous board meeting, there was concerns about there being learning loss over the last few years with COVID at the elementary level especially. I was not privy to that conversation, nor was I present, but I guess you presented some stuff there, and so there was the worry of, can we look at a potential 5-day from the board members present, and would it help, would it not? You know, kind of what is it going to look like? 2 of the big reasons that they brought to the table: 1, address learning loss, spoken at the elementary level, and assist families with childcare on Fridays. This, of course, brought all the things we had been through in all these years past for many of us who have sat on the calendar committee for quite some time. And so we talked about lots of different things. You know, 1, the student who was in attendance immediately was like, that's the day we do our work for college. We're taking 3-4 classes on top of our normal classes, right? Trying to get a head start, and all work is due on Saturday night by midnight, so they do their work that day. The other issue is the students who are working 3 days a week. They get in their 10 to 12-hour days and get good paychecks because they're required to pay for vehicles, gas, insurance, etc. That's more, you know, high school based, right? But they were also talking about the budget. For so long we struggled, you know, we were in the red for so long, and we were looking at, okay, we need to get, how do we get a hold of this? This is one of the ways. We were able to cut that extra day, went to a 4-day week. In the last several years we've been in the black. I can't say it's only attributed to that. We don't know that. We want to look at numbers, of course. But the way that Mr. Superintendent Maldonado said was, with the increases in pay, of course, it wouldn't affect teachers so much, but all our support staff, cooks, EAs, transportation bus drivers, they do get paid that additional day. So that could change. The other thing is, many people were unaware that if we went back to a 5-day week, we'd never be able to go back to a 4 ever in the history of Questa schools, because it's not a thing that PED allows anymore. So it's frightened me, because I've been part of this for so long, that I've seen the gains that we've kind of made to just kind of slide back and then say, what are we going to do? Are we going to be on emergency funding, supplemental in the future? Is it going to go back to that point? The other big thing, elementary teachers spoke up, the ones that were in attendance and have taught under both. One did say the burnout for the really young kids. They come back on Mondays kind of excited. You know, Miss Connie said, they're ready to go. They're like, teacher, what are we going to do this week? But when they were on the 5-day shows, it takes a whole nother day to kind of get them going, because they're exhausted. So that was from the really littles teachers. And then, of course, our other big worry with funding is it's a positive thing. We're surrounded by Red River schools, Roots and Wings, Taos schools. And if we offer the same that they have, but at a higher caliber, we're getting students back finally, right? We got staff willing to come. The big worry is, will people start to leave again and say, well, I can do this in this district? I will tell you, teachers that have said, well, Taos is offering this retention stipend. I live there, but I'm here because I only have to do the 4 days instead of the 5 days. Will that make them stay? I don't know. Will that make them leave? I don't know. But that's a big worry because we lose students, we lose SEG. High school students are like, well, Taos Academy is sounding kind of nice because they have flexibility to work, to do their college classes, that kind of stuff. So that was a concern. I feel like we cannot jeopardize that. And then attendance as it is. Mr. Maldonado spoke with this as well. We do have some, it cannot be a day, it's a regular school day, obviously, right? And so all the regular classes have to take place. It's not a day where you do, something different. So attendance is taken the same way. I know one big thing was, and we struggle with it no matter what, adults and children alike. Most of us use the day to make our appointments the way that we should. That was the hope, right? Many, of course, that's not always the case. Not every specialist can get you on that day. However, orthodontist is always full on Fridays because they come from Santa Fe on those days. But that's the other worry. If we're already struggling to get kids here in the first place, is it going to make a bigger impact, to have extra days that they're just deciding to take off on? And then, lastly, of course, for the adults, for us teachers, we don't have substitutes. We don't have people to cover our classes. If we are going to have to start taking leave to do just regular obligations, we'll have nobody with the kids, and they'll be kind of, so that's just from the adult perspective of, these are the things I'm worried about immediately. What we decided we were going to do is, there's multiple things. One, definitely have to send out the survey as we did in years past, community survey. We talked about creating that together, what kind of questions would be on there, what information we would give. Our student present asked that we also survey students and faculty members, since it directly impacts them as well, that they should also have a say. And the other thing is, Juan talked about holding kind of an open forum to get the public's input, whatever it is. And there was one more thing I think I forgot because I jumped around. 4 or 5 day combo. We talked about potential for using grant funds that this PED offers and keeping it a potential 4 day, but making it a contract. Like if you're under a 70%, maybe a student is struggling, then they're required to come in. And that's some models that charter schools use as well, just so that they don't fall below, they don't fall behind, we don't struggle with eligibility, we don't struggle, even if they don't have a 70 and they can opt in if a parent is really struggling to have somebody there or to have the need. We could then use some of that supplemental funding instead of dipping into our operational to fund several staff members who are willing to go extra and the students to be there. So we still run kind of the same way, and then we would have to look at that as a whole, which there is money there at the State Department that we can use. That if that is the direction we want to go, and we look at not just interim assessments, but kind of longevity of things. And that also brought out these guys back here of people want to work in the shop, the wood shop, the metal shop. We can have them open on Fridays for people who want to come in, and they can work on projects for 3-4 hours and not, I'm stuck to 50 minutes to do my welding project and then I gotta go to English, So they can actually utilize, and we could be more of a place that people want to come to because there's more flexibility. So we also talked about that at budget last night. So dipping into other pots or grants versus using our money if it's not sustainable. Because sustainability, as you guys have said over and over, it's a big deal. And we've seen, we've gone through years of losing 9.75 staff members in one school year because we couldn't afford it, 2 class sizes going up to 37 per class, and the luxury of having 15 kids there, more one-on-one, that kind of stuff. And that's what our students said as well. If a student is struggling, they need the tutoring, they need the help, it's a less class, it's smaller smaller amounts of kids there to get more instruction on those days or assistance with whatever they need. Did I get everything? Oh, thanks, I just
I think there's options there. I think that's the good thing is there's a little bit of give and take.
Mhm.
For that, and I think you guys still have a lot to process, so I look forward to hearing from that over the next couple months. That because that is tightly impacted. That's what the budget is based on. So
Right.
without the calendar committee, there is no budget to go forward. So
Oh, and also with the surveys, just to put everybody at ease, we do have ways to do the surveys where they can only do one. It's tied to an email, has to have a name, so you brought up, I have 130 students and I got 300 surveys. So they're not, voting multiple times and falsifying that kind of stuff. So we do have, ways to do that.
I think that's really good information, and thank you guys for your time and effort. I like the last part about it is having the shop, and I'm thinking having Miss Maria West-Lore come on board, and I do know Los Alamos just got a huge chunk of change that we should definitely be going after. Having those kind of partners, I think, in that realm for you guys back there, I think that would be great to offer an extra day for these kind of kids to learn how to weld or shop or get in there and get some hands-on experience with things. So I appreciate you guys, and I think just like anything else, it just comes down to the bean counting and what can we afford and what we can't. But it kind of seems like in the direction that we've been in staying in the black and not even getting close to the red, we're doing something right. It's just how do we improve upon that? So, thank you. Any other questions for Kelly?
On the 4 to 5 day combo, you mentioned a grant. What's the process of that, and then how much is it?
We'll get into that during the discussion.
It's on the
It's on there.
next one. All right, if there's nothing further we will have our high school student council.
This is actually honor society.
Oh.
Well, it doesn't matter that that's what it said.
we'll pretend that it doesn't say student
Yeah, I
council.
apologize.
Student
We didn't know it was, we thought it said student presentation, so. Yeah, you don't have to.
Superintendent Maldonado, board member Familia Santisteban, a sophomore at Questa High School. This is Mariana Ortega and Esperanza Vallejos. We are part of National Honor Society, where we all have been very busy. There are currently 23 active members. All 23 members maintain a 3.5 GPA or better. All 23 of us also have participated in at least one sport this year. All Honor Society members have grouped up and each has chosen to work on a service learning project that we should have a lasting impact on our community. To pay for all our learning projects, Honor Society has been selling chocolate bars. We're still selling some, so if you still want some, please hit us up with that name. We plan on funding several of our projects with it.
Superintendent Maldonado, board members, as Leah mentioned, I am Mariana Ortega, and I'm in 8th grade. Leah, SB, and I have been working on a community food pantry. The community food box has a live what you can, take what you need philosophy. We have been in touch with an organization in Taos that provided several boxes around Taos so that we can get ideas and advice. We also met with Mayor Ortega back in November to ask permission to place this box on village property. Mr. Spencer and his board working class have agreed to the construction of the food pantry. So once they can get into the tech building, they can start building a community food box.
Hello, I am Esperanza. I'm an 8th grader at Questa Junior High. Besides the project that Aaliyah, Mariana, and myself have been working on, other members have also been working on projects. We had one group reach out to our local fire department With all the fire department has been doing lately, students chose that group of the people to honor with bags of treats. Another group will spearhead a blood drive on February 21st. So if any of you are interested in donating blood, please stop by at the Health Room on February 21st. On March 2nd, which is Dr. Seuss Day, all Honor Society members will be going to the elementary school to read and do activities with the students. Another group has reached out to a gentleman from Taos County Solid Waste. On April 20th, we plan on picking up trash here in Questa. Taos County Solid Waste will provide us an escort trash bags and will collect the trash. These are only a handful of community service projects that we are working on. We thank you for allowing us time to come and talk to you about what we are doing and appreciate your support.
Good job, thank you guys. Appreciate you coming. We'll look forward to seeing you guys more often in our board.
Just to pulling teeth together.
Once a month, we hope.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, it's good to see what good things are coming out of our students, and not just our students, but our staff, and the positive that comes from the district. So a lot of times we sit here and we're talking numbers and what things could be good, and sometimes, like the last meeting we had, tough topics, but we appreciate everything you guys are doing, and definitely support you guys in your endeavors. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's nice to hear that you guys are busy, and because the last meeting we had, we heard opposite, that you guys are doing nothing, we run around, which I didn't believe, so I'm glad to hear it.
It's just that half day students.
I know what's going on there, so it's nice to hear from you guys, and like I said, if there's 35 members
23.
in 23, so in the end of February, then we'll see
Yeah.
another 3,
Yeah.
and then another 3. See, they always have the same ones.
Yeah.
Like we like to hear about your projects, and why haven't we got Mr. Spencer inside the wood shop already? So now we're slacking. See, so now it's on us. See, that's what we like to hear, is like, Lord, why are we holding him back? Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Good job on your presentations. And the fire department did tell me to tell you guys thank you for the goodies. They were awesome. They all appreciated it. And it was awesome. Every member enjoyed it, and they appreciate that. So thank you guys for recognizing them.
They have to go back to practice.
Yeah.
They are
They're
very
making
busy.
You guys don't want to milk it?
You're right.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes.
We have some approval power here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Good job.
guys.
Thank you.
We'll move on.
I have a whole box of chocolate.
Oh, yeah. No, there's pretzels.
Pretzel, chocolate.
Oh, there's dipped pretzels. So
What you want to have?
I got 7 bars right now.
So we'll go on to the administrative and department reports. Mr. M.
Let's start with maintenance. Have it way down here.
Halfway through this. You guys get ready to
So what? Do whatever way you want.
Yeah.
You can do principal.
Let's go ahead and start with Ms. McDonald, because I know you have some stuff.
thank you, I appreciate that. And I appreciate your flexibility in moving the agenda, because I did do a lot of arm twisting and crying to get staff and students here. So I appreciate them not having to stay. I do want to start, we kind of went quickly through introduction of guests, but I asked our new staff to join us. We had some new staff members join this year, so I want to start with Mr. Larry Cosman, who joined us this semester. I'll let you introduce yourself, Mr.
My name
Cosman.
is Larry Cosman. I currently teach middle school ELA. I've also been asked to help from a gifted program for the district. My previous job was teaching elementary school students who have been identified as high learners algebra. which is abstract thinking for their age, logic, rhetoric, and digital storytelling. I follow the liberal arts approach. That's it.
Awesome, welcome, we go. I've been looking for that for
Yeah, we're working on it.
12 years.
Our plan is to meet with Mr. Romero soon and get things coordinated, yeah. And so I'm gonna move to Mr. Baca, who's been with us all year, but I don't think you guys have met him yet, so Mr. Baca, I'm gonna ask you to introduce yourself.
So my name's Mike Baca. I started in August, started with computer science and with the intentions of opening up the shop. We've done everything we need to do, we just need to get the shop open. So we're counting on you guys to give us some money and get us some security and safety. Really, that's all we're waiting for, is we're waiting for the safety items to come in, and we can get the kids in there, start them cleaning first, and then get them going. But and I'm open to anything that you guys are available to, suggest, so we can get the shop going. And the kids are real excited about it. We got a big group, a lot of guys and girls, so we're looking forward to it. And I'll let Spencer talk about some of the MC3 training that we just completed.
And just a minute, Spencer. One more introduction. Mr. Matt Polacco joined us in the fall as well.
Matt Polacco, guys. Born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Did my schooling in Albuquerque at UNM. My background's in special education, but right now I'm teaching 7th grade math and 9th grade algebra. And love my administration, love my students, love my colleagues, love working here for Questa. Thank you.
Thank you. So, kind of to stay on my report, thank you for letting us introduce them. I will say it's an interesting dynamic at the high school. We have not had such a balance between male and female instructors in a long time. So it's an interesting thing and a really positive thing. Bill sends his regrets. He is sick. Probably caught it from Julie, I'm guessing. So, but I did want to present a couple more positive things I had asked him to present. We're doing a community partnership with Questa Credit Union, where 8 of our seniors are getting trained and are tutoring their peers. It's an actual IRS training. They have an IRS trainer come in this Friday to train them for 8 hours, and they will be volunteering in the community to help senior citizens and others who struggle with filing their taxes, under the supervision of Catherine Flory and another person from the IRS. So there'll be 3 separate sessions open for seniors in particular to come get assistance with filing their taxes. So it's a very cool program. And I kind of wanted to highlight Bill's financial literacy course as well, because we've talked a lot about this course being offered. It is extremely practical. They've done cover letters, they've done resumes, they have gone through mortgages and how compound versus simple interest is computed. They deal with applying for cars. It's extremely hands-on. So we did put that as our senior level course, so our exiting seniors are getting that. And so this was a very cool thing. Catherine reached out to Bill in December. The kids self-selected. We are actually able to pay our kids for some of their service learning hours through some of our tutoring funds. So it's a really cool thing. It's a really awesome thing. So I just really wanted to highlight that. He'd have talked much longer, so you owe me. So I did ask Mr. Baca and Mr. Warnock to, I hope he's not on Zoom. Okay. Mr. Warnock and Mr. Baca to join us, because I know some of you who were here previously were involved with trying to start the MC3 program through QEDF, and I'm going to let them talk more about it, because we did finally get that restarted for getting some certifications in the trades going in the school. And they went through the training this week, and I'm going to let you guys talk about it.
Okie doke. Yeah. Hey guys. So the MC3, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's the multi-core construction curriculum that offers. It's basically an apprentice training program for the kids. So they come out of, and it's 120 hours or so, which is, we're discussing how to go about this, because we'd like to offer it in conjunction with either an intro welding class or an intro carpentry class. They get this certificate and they leave high school, or even in high school, and they can pick up a job. Los Alamos, what did we say, it was 30, they were saying on MC3 it was $30 an hour. They're hiring down apprentice level, so it gets them right in the door, right at the apprentice level, for affiliated groups with that program. We thought it was awesome, and the kids were like, I could be making $62,000 a year with benefits, right? So they were excited. That's that possibility. I'll be leaving the school now. Anyways, no. The program is very bright. Mr. Baca, I believe, is going into the welding and shop avenue. I'll be taking the carpentry, and I'd like to take the curriculum to more kind of working with the community a little bit, as we've started with the food boxes, and also I have a background in sustainable building and green building and design, so I want to incorporate that later on with a little bit of, with the basic carpentry, add that into the curriculum as maybe a more advanced class. So we can, because building is going in that direction, we want to get our kids, ready for that avenue of the construction field, which is also a small part of the MC3, has become a small part of the MC3 training, which is great. So we can fit it right in there, fit it together, and get these kids with their certification and apprenticeship, and hopefully on their way. So that's mine. You want to add anything?
And it also falls in line with dual credits for UNM.
Oh yes, that's it.
Awesome. Been one trying to work on this for the last
Yeah, long time.
7 weeks.
5 years.
It's at least 5.
That we've been trying to kickstart this program, so I'm glad to hear that we're finally ready to cut the tape on that.
And we have some seniors that are really interested in it, that we're gonna really try our hardest to get them their hours so we can get them a certificate.
What safety stuff are we missing? I mean, like,
Yeah, it's an
So
Some PPE or what?
we are currently in discussion with QEDF, and it's an ongoing discussion that has actually had to involve the attorney, because there are some pass-through fundings that we're waiting for. So we have an order in with them to cover the basic protective stuff like leather gloves, goggles, shields. We put together an exhaustive request, so they are hoping to have that ordered for us in February.
Yeah, it was a pretty big list, and we were told by Q.I.S.D that they had $24,000 some dollars.
They had given us 30,000,
set
of
aside,
which we had used.
and when we had submitted this order, we had gotten an email back saying there's no funding available at this point in time, that they hope to receive funding again in late January, early February. So that's where we've actually had to include the attorney at this point on, well, if this money was there, where did it go? It hasn't been used by us. We haven't touched any of this money. So we can get deeper into that in.
it was funding that if it wasn't used by a certain time, it was going away.
No, well, it's complicated. It's kind of an executive session thing. It's
Yeah.
Right. No, I
So-
remember that agreement.
So we're
what's the
missing,
amount anyway?
it's about to get, this whole program is about 50-some thousand, so the district.
Well, what do they need though to start?
To start
About
is 25.
25,000.
About 25,
Is about
just
where
in
we're sitting
safety
at.
And that's all
That-
safety. That's not
all
additional.
leathers,
The second-
screens, goggles, earmuffs.
Cause I mean, we spent 18 grand to move the
Yeah.
dirt.
So the second,
Is
Touche.
it something that we can be reimbursed for when that comes through?
Yes, actually, we can. They will do it as a reambrsment grant.
and that's how we've looked at it.
We can give you that purchase
The
requisition
sucker
on your
should be
next
ordered right
meeting.
now, but
Yeah.
I think this is crazy.
So our second issue that we have too is
18 million.
we had a visit with, NIMSIA came out to do their annual walkthrough, and there's a couple of areas in the tech building that have been what we considered red flag. So in order for us to do that, not yet. So he's giving us time to make those corrections, which we've already made a good portion of those corrections, which we're replacing all ceiling tiles into so that there's no electrical exposed, because right now you had electrical that was exposed that and it's a pretty high ceiling, but if the kid was to be able to get up there, pull down the electrical. So we've covered all those. Second thing is that room that has like all the storage stuff that we're starting to clean out. That's the one that we're hoping, once we get those dumpsters to dump everything from, is once we get that. So right now what NIMSIA has told us is that as long as you tape off the door and put do not enter or authorized personnel only, then that, and keep that door, that area can now be locked, no student can go in there, then that will take care of that portion. The second issue is, when it came into the shop, just getting the shop cleaned up, so we did have a number of dead rodents in there, and so we've had that getting cleaned out. We did have exterminator come out and set traps, do what he needs to do, and exterminate and do his business. So that was another one, so we've been marking off the list. He will come out one more time. He says, I'm willing to work with you guys as long as you're making gains. I don't know if you guys saw, but they closed down the Taos wrestling room a while back, which caused a big uproar, and so he says, I don't wanna shut you down, but what I do wanna make sure is that the safety. He did check water, we do have running water, fresh water in the bathroom, so we're okay there. We do have a new eye wash station, that was something that said that needs to be installed, so we do have that. So we do have all these new items that we have gotten in there to be able to meet that, so that NIMSIA portion doesn't affect us in any which way. And so, the guy's real good, he says, I'm willing to work with you, just, you guys tell me where you want me to come back, I will walk through it with you, I'll make checks of what needs to be fixed and those things. So that's kind of been a little bit of a holdup too, is getting that, because he didn't come out the first time until, was it like, beginning of December, right? It was like December 20th.
It was right before Christmas.
It was right before we went on break. It was actually that Thursday,
That
because he
Thursday
did that
before,
training
yeah.
or that Wednesday, and he did that training on
Yeah.
Thursday. So he came out Wednesday, so it was right there, so it's given us time, like, that's what we did during the break. We started putting their ceiling things in, started cleaning out the shop, doing the things during the break that we could get into when we had no students there. So we're moving forward on that. Now, it's gonna be, and we can get you that quote, cause we still have that quote. We had sent it off to them, cause they said, well, we'll just purchase it for
I
you.
can
And
print it right now.
it won't, we can, yeah, it can come into you right now
It
at this
really
point.
can.
Cause it's ready to go. It was just, now it turned into a back and forth of why we had the funding, didn't have the funding, and so on. And so that was kind of where we stopped with that, but it's, the items are ready to go, and we did kind of get an email back from them saying we should have that funding back available to you guys by the end of January, beginning of February.
Yeah, what we're working on now, until we can get the kids in there, is their safety qualifications, taking tests, and then we're working, by next week, we'll be doing a policy statement to send home to the parents, so we can get them to sign off on it, the parents to sign off, the kids to sign off. That way, everybody knows what's going on. So, but we're, within a week, we can get in
And
there
those
as far
classes
as
filled
the,
up, we capped them, but it was turning kids away.
The hoods and stuff are all functional, and do
We
you have
have,
those certified?
we have brand new hoods and boxes, and those have been,
Well, and that was actually a part of, 2 years ago, we had that entire shop recertified. So it's all in there. It probably needs to take a look again. Some of the wood tools, we need to double check the recalibration and double check some of the wood things.
We didn't get any of that on the list, and I haven't had a chance to
So
get in and
welding
look at
is a little bit ahead of woods in that sense, but Mr. Spencer would just be starting with hand tools anyway, and kind of some basics of joining, that sort of thing.
That's being green.
Yeah. No, and we have big aspirations. That's one of the reasons I asked them to come, because I know you guys hear me talk a lot, but and I talk a lot about being a destination, but this is part of it, and I think we are right there. We absolutely will pull from other communities and other schools when we have open running. So that's I did have actually another alumni reach out. He recently got his vocational certification, so and I'll be coming to budget for that, because I would like to see us fully staffed in that building. So I think it's really rolling. Yeah. Any other concerns on that? Any other things from you guys? Because I don't want to stay all night on. I could talk all night about my report, but and a little bit what Mr. Cordova and alluded to, Mr. Lovato as well. Kind of some of the negative you guys hear. I did want to emphasize the positive tonight in my report and ask these guys and I appreciated having the students invited in. But just to kind of hit some of the highlights, we do have 29 kids currently enrolled for dual credit at UNM, so that's college credit. We have 8 kids enrolled in work study, that's verified employment, where they are turning in their paychecks and being graded as well by their employer, being evaluated. 5 kids are participating in peer tutoring, where they either come here or work with the 7th graders for money that Mr. Maldonado got that grant for. And I did break down in my report, I won't go through all of it, but there was some comments made about all online coursework. That is not the case. I came in very committed to getting us off online. The 4 things we offer online, and these 4 things only, are any college coursework through UNM. That's not us, that's them, which is how college is run this way. It's done on Canvas. Those are with live instructors, however. It's not just an online course that they're reading and responding to. They are instructed in that. Driver's Ed is online. We do have credit recovery through Edgenuity. If a child has failed a course, they retake it through Edgenuity. And we do have digital filmmaking, which by the nature of the media is done on computers. That's it. I will say that some coursework uses online coursework for supplemental instruction. Our math coursework uses Khan Academy, which is a SAT recommended curriculum for achieving on the SAT. That is live taught with Khan as the support. Same with Spanish, it is live taught with a vocabulary support online. So I just wanted to really emphasize that because that was extremely important to me coming into this position, especially full-time, that we move away from what we had been relying on during COVID and move to hands-on, paper-based, project-based learning instruction. And so that is definitely the emphasis of the high school. So you'll see my ridiculous list of everything we offer live taught. We are fully staffed, which is very exciting. I do want to look at carefully expanding staff and opportunities at all of our grade levels, how we can support that, but again, building that responsibly into the budget. That's about it. I thank you for your time. It's a longer report than usual, and I do appreciate you moving it earlier in the agenda so we could have people get home at a reasonable hour.
And I did just want to touch on hers, is that when it was asked for to have student council, we did send out that invitation to student council. Ms. McDonald did meet with the student council students, and we had no interest on them actually coming and presenting to you guys, so I don't want you to think that it was just we
Yeah.
Honor Society for that portion.
We actually invited everybody.
I did ask her then to reach out to other organizations and try to get them in, because we did want students to kind of give you a spill of what's going on in the school, because we can talk about it all day, but if you hear it from these guys, that's kind of more where we're at. And so we did throw that invitation to pretty much every committee at that point in time, or every organization, to come in and present to you guys. And it's something that we want to continue. Yeah. I told her, let's see if we can reach out to our other clubs and other extracurricular activities and even sports, and try to get those students in here to talk about some of the highs and lows of their seasons and things that are going on in the district.
Okay, so, thank you, Ms. McDonald. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and effort in getting this woodworking and welding off the ground. I know Mr. Delato said he's been trying to get it going for the last 4 or 5 years. In the meetings that I've been a part of with Lano, UNM, LORE, everybody's committed to seeing this project get off the ground, and I am like excited for you guys because it's huge. It's huge for the district to offer these kind of classes hands-on and get a certificate where you can walk off and walk onto a job.
Good job.
Yeah,
Great job.
I know COVID taught us a good lesson about what essential workers truly are. And they're electricians, they're plumbers, they're carpenters, they're welders, public safety, things that make our country what it is. There's bankers and doctors and lawyers and all the rest too, but without the skilled trades, we're dead in the water, and there's a huge need for them.
Yeah.
There's pipeline, there's all kinds of things. I've talked to Pipe Fitter Union, trying to make some contacts there, which I've got off the ground already, and I do know they're looking for staff everywhere. So I'm hoping that we can be a feeder for some of these high-paying jobs, which they truly are still. Anything that I can do to help this project move forward, you got me on board. Thank you, guys.
And the gifted program,
Yeah,
Woo.
for sure.
trust me, Ms. McDonald have stories on that for the last, since I moved back.
Yep.
13 years ago. Trying to get that going, something there.
It's gonna work out.
It's
Great.
gonna work. We're, yeah, good discussions, really good discussions.
Good.
Okay, anything, more questions for? We'll move to our
We can go to our elementary.
elementary, please go.
Okay, gosh, it's great to be back in. It seems like it's been too long. Happy New Year to all of you. I think you have my report, and my report may have tiny font on it. Is that what you have? And if so, I'm gonna give you one with a little bit bigger font. Because Miss Julie and I, had a little bit of mix up. Okay? So this is a little bit easier to read in that tiny font. So, first of all, well, we still have Mr. Polacco in here as he's headed out the door. I will say that, underneath academics, I'd like to do a shout out to Mr. Polacco, who with Miss MJ came and screened all of our special ed students to level them for our Aspire curriculum.
Thank you.
And so he's a new employee and he's already touching all around the staff. So thank you, Mr.
No, thank you.
And now you can go ahead.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
So a couple things that I do want to highlight in here. We also are at this point, we have all of our teaching staff on board. We've hired Joel Martinez, who's working on his credential right now as our 6th grade teacher, so we're very excited about that. We have a special ed EA and hopefully possibly a music EA that we're still hoping for. We also have Rosie Villalpando in our kitchen, which we're very excited about, and I'll bring Miss Rosie and Joelle next time so that you can meet them. I'm very excited to report that 95% of our meals are now being cooked at Alta Vista. And so I really appreciate however that came about, superintendent and our kitchen staff working on that.
We just got the ovens fixed today too, so now we're completely good with ovens in that kitchen.
That was 4 years of fighting too.
Okay, so we're making progress. Keep up the fight because it takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth it.
Oh, the kids deserve it. I mean, there's nothing worse than seeing them bringing them in a darn cooler.
Right, and so the kids are excited. The smell of cooking is in our school, and we're very excited about that. The other thing I'd like to point out, we do have fundraising going on. So as you have children come to you selling various coffee, popcorn, cupcakes, whatever. Pretzels. It's for field trips. And then I want to do another huge shout out that on the 28th, we're going to be working with board member Cordova and the fire department to do a fundraiser here at the stoplight. So I hope that people will drive by and have an extra $1 or $2 to put into the booth, okay? It's for a good purpose. It's for field trips. Under attendance, I do want to say a couple of things. We are a little bit concerned about that 15% of enrollment throughout our school have accumulated double-digit absences. As you all know, there's the Student Success Act, which mandates 95% attendance, which would mean only 5% absence. So I did have Mr. Shannon, who's working with us, put a letter together, and it did go out to all families that helps to explain the Student Success Act. But what I want to be sure that you understand is that, and I had a conversation with superintendent about this today, we recognize that the flu, COVID, all those things are still with us. We're watching children and staff members get sick and miss numerous days. And so we're not going to just immediately send out form letters. We're really taking a look at when we have absences, that's a sign to us that the family may need something. And so we're reaching out to families to find out how we can support them in getting children to school regularly. So I want to be sure that you recognize that and realize that. Also very exciting, our attendance team has come together, which includes myself, our counselor, Ms. Madalena, our secretary, Ms. Desiree, and then our student success advisor, who's Mr. Shannon. We came together and we not only talked about the process of what we're going to do when we have absences, but we really are trying to get to the other side of it and come up with some real incentives for our students. So we're real excited. We're planning an assembly on March 23rd. And at that, we'll recognize most improved attendance among our children. We'll recognize improved grades among our children, and we'll also recognize acts of kindness. So we are working on how we can provide us incentives. Under academics, I would say thank you. I was very excited to hear you report out that I think it was two of our board members who brought the concern of learning loss to the calendar committee, and so thank you to board members for listening and for really wrapping your mind around the learning loss that has happened in not only our community but across the country. And so there are a lot of ideas that we have also of ways that we can address that learning loss and things that we're doing right now as well. So I appreciate that conversation extending from the board to our committees. Let's see, what else could I add here? Under discipline, I'm really excited that our 5th and 6th graders have put together what they want to see in their learning and what's acceptable and what's not. And so they have created what we're calling a student success agreement, and they're going to be taking it home to get their parents to sign it and to review it with parents. And what that's all about is helping our students become responsible and accountable for their own learning environment, and helping them get ready to go to the middle school and the high school. So keep your eyes open, particularly if you're a 5th or 6th grade parent, you're going to be seeing that come home. And the other thing I would highlight on here is we had our National Society students in here, and I'm really excited because on March 2nd, at Dr. Seuss and Read Across America Day, we're collaborating with the National Society students on that. So it's really great to have that collaboration happening with the high school. And then I also want to do one more shout out. We're beginning our ski trips next year. And so thank you, Ms. Kimber, for your work with the Lord Foundation to fund those ski trips, because that's a great opportunity for our students. And so I'll stand for any questions that you might have on our report. What grades are going?
Where?
Oh, at Red River.
Oh.
1st through 6th grade. It's part of our PE program. So Coach Journey will join us at the very first ski trip so that he can kind of look at how the kids are doing at the beginning and how they're doing at the end of the ski trip also.
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. M.
Okay, so we can move to maintenance. So Mr. Robert Martinez is out. His report's there. Some of the things he's been working on. He did work. We all kind of took turns during the break. Sometimes we work together at the same time. Like I said, to touch on some of these buildings and things that needed to get done while it was easier while the students were out. So we did, like I said, we did a lot of work on that tech building during that time. Kind of hit some of the things that we were flagged on. Some of the things that he's been working on is his data sheets. Updating data sheets is something that when it comes to a 5-year plan that we have to submit along with it, showing what we've been doing, what the data is looking like in the sense of any type of maintenance to boiler systems, to electrical systems, heating, cooling, any type of things like that, lighting as well. Just even document when last time lights were changed, light bulbs were changed out, things like that, and that all falls into that 5-year facility plan. He's been working on daily work orders. He's been working on lighting. One of the things we've been looking at is how cut down lighting costs. We've been working with APEC and a couple of others to look at what the cost would be to move to full LED lighting. It's pretty high cost, but energy savings, it will pay for itself. Takes a little bit of time, but it will pay for itself in about 3 years is what we looked at right now.
Can we just take one for that?
We can if we tie it in correctly. So what we gotta do is tie in if we're doing something to the extent of a project where maybe if we're upgrading a camera or something like that, we can put in that if, in order to give the camera the best, whatever visual view and whatever lighting is important, so we would have to upgrade. We've been working on a lot of that with some of these guys on how we can tie it in tech one. So we've been working on a lot of that stuff.
And that's a huge reach there.
Yeah. So even like with these new sheds that we just put outside that we're putting security, when we pulled in that, when we look at like putting electricity, we can tie that into the tech bond too, because the portion of putting in that electricity is also for us to be able to run the wiring for the gates and those type of things. And so we can pull that. And so we've been working with these companies to see how we can tie everything together. So it's not like a job just to put in a light or electrical outlet, but also why do we need the lighting? Why do we need the electricity there? So that's kind of what, even with like the lighting, we've looked at that too on how it would help support, because when we pulled like the cameras in Miss McDonald's building, that hallway that you have going down, that's your, like by your room, it's dark most of the time, and some of those lights that point up, when we view cameras, we don't get that visual that we need to get, so that's how we were able to kind of look at to tie those two things together. He's been working, he worked with Gino Gallegos from FAD assessment for the PSFA. This is how we start looking at our rankings. The bad thing is that we were a 90-10 district and now we're a 96-4 district, which means we contribute 96% and the state kicks in 4%. Us and Taos both moved to the 96-4. We're still fighting with them on that and trying to pull out of that, but as of right now, that's how we've been.
Is it still because of the property tax?
Because of property tax. Everything runs off property tax.
Property tax and the amount of money coming from the churches with the mine and construction.
Yep.
It's just throwing us out of whack.
It's throwing us bad. So, and it's crazy because the district's similar in size, like Peñasco, who community-wise, they're a 40-60. So their number that they're putting into it compared to what they're getting out of it is significantly different than what we are. But we did fall under a 96, but we're hoping that our ranking at least will go up, and then we can start fighting that from there. I don't know if it will foresee if it will change. We did present that language to legislative committees. We did send them a couple of letters, and I will email those to you guys of what we sent them. Gabe did a pretty good job of getting stuff together. I finished it off, we sent it off, and did get some things that they have been input into the legislative committees. So we're hoping to get some of that monies, which I think came out to like $3 million some that we've asked for at this point in time from the legislative. Now, then we're also asking for some match from the, and I'll touch a little bit more on that once I get into my report, but that's kind of where we're at. So that's what the PSFA report was for, and it also falls into the 5-year facility master plan that we have to redo. And then this is the one that he talks about walkthrough with Albert. His name is Albert Munoz. He's actually with Palms, but he also represents NIMSIA. He's our accident preventionist for the district, and so he did come out, did a full-blown assessment of the district, kind of gave us some. for the most part, things look good. The playground, everything passed on the playgrounds, where last year we were tagged on both playgrounds. That's why we moved to replace that one, so everything looked good. I don't know if you've seen the playgrounds, but we did bring the level of ground up to where it needs to be. Hopefully it stays. It's something we're gonna have to just maintain as time goes. He did walk the buildings. He says our buildings are in the aspect of NIMSIA and are in good shape. He said, not really any major hazards. He did point out a few things, so we started making corrections on that. The biggest one was like the tech building, and like I said, he was real good about it. He said, I will work with you guys. I don't want to shut you down, because getting it reopened if the state shuts you down is a pain in the rear. So I will work with you on that. But you may have to call me out a couple of times. There's no charge for him to come out. But he said, just when you guys make these updates, keep calling me out and I'll come and check and see how things are working. I did ask him about having students in there. He said, as long as you get those two major things, which were cutting off the door access to the students and putting the ceiling tiles, which are all up at this point in time, then you should be good. We do need to check one room that looked like it had some water damage to it, just to make sure there's no mold in there, and if there is, we need to get that covered up and fixed as soon as possible. So I believe one of our maintenance guys has been on that little job. So that's kind of where he's at. Any questions for him? He's been working pretty hard, and sometimes it's just him, because our other one's been out with an injury. Thank goodness it wasn't here, but.
Who's in charge of, who's doing the gym cleanup?
Gym cleanup is a new custodian.
Cause this last game, all the stuff left over from the previous game was still there.
There was an illness, yeah.
And
Trash?
yeah, all the trash, the food, everything just thrown out on the bleachers, so it's just all there. And I recognized that the bottle was there, and I finally picked it up because I was there from the last game. I saw the kid that threw it. I was like, no, well, it was from the first game, so when I went back, I thought it was gonna be picked up. So I picked it up.
You didn't see it?
I'm looking at it running around like crazy.
Pick one up and
Is it? So yeah, he's a new custodian, and we're working with him to get him on that with, especially the bleachers. We had the discussion of even looking at bringing somebody in that's in-house already, in district, offering to come right after games, clean bleachers, and then what I think we need to do at the point, once we clean the bleachers, push the bleachers in, so that there's no PEs, no nothing, we don't pull those bleachers out again until we have a game, because what's happening is that there's, Miss McDonald's been pretty willing to cut like the classes after lunch, send them weight room, things like that, so that our custodian, if there is a game, can get the gym prepped. Sometimes some of the issues we ran into is we were having a game started at 4 o'clock and we had kids in there till 3:45, so whatever was there was there. There was no cleanup at that point in time. So if we can get those bleachers clean, that would only leave like the top, which the top has looked a lot better than what it had looked prior to. But the bleachers has still been a big concern, and I'll be honest, those bleachers take a good little time. We went one day to clean them, and there was 3 of us, and it took us almost 4 hours just to get them kind of nice. And
after the games, we can have the teams go up there and pick up the trash?
we could probably have our teams go up there.
And that's what I mean, it's the home.
Every gym I've gone to, like so far, has been whoever's doing the concession. Those kids are the ones walking around with trash cans, and the people are throwing the trash in right away. They're just walking around with the trash bag. And we did that at the beginning, and
We've done that a couple
stopped.
times, yeah.
And it works.
It does.
You probably get 80% of the trash. The only thing you miss is probably the popcorn that's
We've
thrown.
done that, we did that last year. I know.
Just wanted to bring that up. It's pretty disgusting.
We had one right after break, right? When we came back, and I was pretty.
Can you place trash cans up at least kind of where everybody walks out from the bleachers area too? And just
Last year we tied
The people are too
bags
damn
to the
lazy.
handles. Yeah.
Because we have like 6 trash cans around that. It's just,
People
it's
are
easier
lazy.
just to get up and just leave it there. And
They do.
you honestly, like the day we cleaned it, it was, and what's bad is not even just that, they'll sometimes shove it between or behind. And So that's why we went through and we actually scrubbed bleachers and did everything with it, but it took us a good 4 hours just to get that done, and, you know, and so like I said, at this point, if we can get somebody in there right immediately after the game, get it cleaned up, and then get those bleachers folded in, then that will take away the ability from PEs and things, because it's not just food and stuff, we find clothes, and I've seen the same pair of shorts sitting there for about a good 2 weeks already, so, you know, and it's just PE, they throw their clothes, backpacks, water bottles, you name it, we find it in there, so I think that's gotta be our goal, and we've kinda talked about that, and, you know, looking at somebody that's really employed in the district, that's willing to say, hey, I'll come in at, you know, 9:30 after a game and spend a couple of hours cleaning up the gym, at least throwing the trash and sweeping the main spots, mopping spills if there's a spill in the bleachers, because that's another thing. I know one day there was a game that I got pictures of mud that had been sitting there from, I guess, the game before, which would have been like 2 days before, so.
Well, imagine if they spill soda, it's gonna sit there for 2-3 days by the time they touch it.
Yeah.
That's already absorbed.
Oh, I had a question about the tech building. In regards to the tech building and the cleanup outside, can we do anything with the kids in cleaning that up, you know, around back, where all that junk and equipment is, and
So the kids during the school day, I would say no, but the kids, like if we had a Friday and we wanted to bring them and they were willing to come in, then yes, just because if I'm looking at it as an instructional time and things like that, that's where we will catch ourselves of not providing an instructional time, but if we come in on a Friday, kinda like I had, the day that we cleaned the bleachers, I believe,
There was extra help there.
one son was there helping me and actually did an awesome job, so he was there helping me that day, and, you know, and so I think if we could get him in on a Friday, that's kinda where we're asking for that dumpster to
So
clean it.
those dumpsters, I sent her the number, they're approved, one will be for all metal, and then the rest is just strictly trash.
And once we get that, then we can just dump, we moved the things that are usable, like we pulled, I don't know if you saw, we pulled the salt spreader to this direction over here. We got the salt spreaders working, both of them are up and running. So what we need to do is now on this one, I need to get a chute, because the chute was broken off of it. So once we get that, we just placed that order for the chute with Zeke's, and I don't know what the turnaround on that is, but it's an easy install. But we did get everything working on it, and then we also got the one on the back of the tractor. We've cleared out room, as you probably saw, the 2 trucks aren't there. We cleared out room in the shop, which is something that eventually we're gonna have to have that conversation on looking at getting a second building to park these things in, so that we're not destroying them and they're not, because we just bought that plow. And yeah, so we need to start looking at the possibility of getting a second so that we can put down and get like the trucks in there. I have them in there right now, and I have the tractor in there, which are our main things that we're using. Once we get this other salt spreader up and running and going, then that one's the bigger one. The one on the tractor is a smaller one, but we did get it working as well.
Just buy us the metal, we'll build it.
Huh?
Just buy us the metal, we'll build it.
You'll build the shop. That works.
we'll build benches inside and tables and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. Zeke said that they can get us all that stuff, so he's supposed to send me.
You probably need it for half price.
Yeah,
compared
because
to
you don't wanna
Zeke's.
buy the bags. Well, and we have some that's still sitting there from that other spreader.
Me outside with the cup.
No, it's just sitting in a pile. So we'll reach out once we get that piece out, and we'll get that rolling, but I was really happy to see, like, even after this storm, we got it plowed pretty fast, kept it down, which I think helped the melt and helped it keep going, and so.
Did we sweep one lane, or did
No,
we
we
sweep
swept
the whole thing?
What did you guys do
I
something
mean,
this
it
time?
was him, it was him.
Huh?
It was the same Mr. Maldonado, I'll give you the shout out there, it was all him plowing this
Oh, I
time.
plowed this
He
time.
plowed this time.
I had nobody here, so I
Oh,
had
it
to.
was nice. He did it.
That's what the one lane was.
No,
No, he did too.
I did yesterday. I And I did the whole thing, I even did it in front of the gym, and I did around the gym.
You're gonna need to, pay attention, it's not our spot, but going down High School Road,
Yes.
cause you put that, the other night when they came home, they almost hit that shack.
Yeah.
With the bus, and, yeah, coming in,
I'll put some lights on it.
but even now, make sure you throw salt out there, because it's like, it's a really tight spot right now.
I'll put some solars on that.
Is there a thing in the, on the driveway now?
It's right there at the gate.
Is that where it's gonna stay?
I haven't
Yes.
seen it.
No, it's not gonna stay there, is it?
Cause we're gonna put the gate right there. We can move it.
Is it on property?
I would move it until we're ready to, cause it's like, man, somebody hit that, it's just,
The little blue shack like?
yeah.
Oh, there's one of these in high school too? That one's gonna tip over.
No,
So have you seen that
The
block?
cinder block is not sitting right.
what's
You hit it with the plow tomorrow.
I didn't hit anything with the plow. I drove that thing. I was even afraid to drive that thing.
Can we get a police escort for this guy with the plow?
Anything else for maintenance?
Oh, just one more thing, the data sheets, is that part of school dude, or is that? something
It is part of school dude, so it's being done in school dude.
Nutrition.
Nutrition.
How does it taste?
Elementary is good.
Elementary is pretty good.
Good.
Is it?
Where's nutrition at? I don't have nutrition in front of me.
This one,
Mine is no more green chicken.
28,
Green chicken?
Green chicken.
When did they have chicken?
2876 and 3837.
Seen pictures.
So over 11 school days, 2,876 breakfasts and 3,197 lunches. Over 12 school days were served. The average daily participation was 261 breakfasts and 266 lunches. And like Miss Romero brought, majority of our food now is being cooked at each site, so we're not hauling. If it's a major meal, like something that they're serving that they need to prep in a large amount, then it will be, but for the most part, these are being cooked and served. We did get the 2 ovens. Phoenix was out here today. We got the 2 ovens fixed. We did get a grant, I believe, for $25,000 for new equipment, and so that will come forward in front of you. We waited. It was ready to go. I pulled it back because we wanted to wait and see if they were gonna get these ovens fixed, because ovens were something that were on that grant, but if we can move that grant and get something else, if these ovens stay up and running the way they're supposed to, then we don't need to spend $15,000 on brand new ovens. We can look at something.
So you can move that around from what you submitted for, or no?
Yeah, because we didn't have to submit for a certain, it's just equipment. And then what we do with the equipment is, as long as it meets it has different, areas of where it has to come and what the equipment type has to be, as long so we can even look at like the warmers instead of the thing. I know that we're still having some issues with the convection oven up at the high school, so that could be the convection instead of the one at the elementary. So
You could put a hood and a grill in the gym?
I don't know on that end. I would have to look into that, because I know that it has to have a usage percentage, and I don't know what exactly the usage percentage has to be, so I'll take a look at that, but we did get that grant, and that money, I believe, we have until like June 30th to expend. So, and it doesn't have to be like some of those that you have to have it by February 1st or anything else like that. So once I get the exact specifics of what can change, because like I did tell Miss Lovato was, you can put it in, but if we get these things, because we still had Phoenix on the call, and they said, well, we have your parts, and once we get out there, if we can get it fixed, and we get these ovens up and running. Now at the high school, we probably do need a new oven, just because like even the griddle, things like that are not functioning the way they need to function, and we've had them come out and take looks at those, and the problem is that they're outdated, and so there's a lot of parts that aren't available to those any longer. So that was with the elementary, they did get those up and going, so they do have the double stack as well as the bottom oven as well as the range that is up and running. they're short, I believe, a heating cabinet. Now there's heating cabinets that do dual purposes, that do also the cooking, and then they stay heated. So I guess we can talk to her, see what she feels now that we have those ovens, because I know that was a big thing she wanted to put. Corinne Lovato.
She's not in charge of our.
She's not in
she's a
charge.
nutritionist.
She's not in charge of it, but she's
I
the
don't
one
think she's
taking.
gonna make the call. I think you make
Yeah.
the call. And
So
these ones make the
she's
call.
working with Sharon on what equipment we need, but Sharon also isn't coming down to the elementary and cooking. So I don't know if she was just getting the information from her two cooks that were coming down here and cooking, and they were kind of giving her of what they wanted. And so when the grant was written, and I'll be honest, the grant was written in a collaboration with Miss Lovato and Miss Yvonne Martinez, right? Martinez. So, and that was kind of the vision that we had seen moving to, is where Yvonne had that ability to start getting involved in the day-to-day nutrition area and that type of stuff. So what we did.
Well, that's a different note.
So any questions on the nutrition end?
And we'll move on to transportation.
Transportation, we got the last three buses, cameras installed. That was done over the break. 80th day transportation report, I know that we had asked you, that I believe one of the members had asked for that. So bus number 1 had 17 students, bus number 3 had 20 students, bus number 4 had 24 students, bus number 5, 5, but all were counted on bus 1. Bus 6 had 25 students and a total of 87 students that were transported on that day. Daily communication with bus drivers is needed. Bus drivers attended slip, trips, and falls training on December 22nd, which is part of our required training. And then scheduling of the spring bus inspection will get started, and it's usually done now in about March. Any questions on transportation?
How's the video download been going?
We got it installed on these things. It's a pool, and you put your thing. We had opted out of the antenna, and the reason is because we would need the buses to sit here for at least an hour, and it was an additional $11,000 charge. Yeah, 11,000, because it brought it from the 23 to 34,000, and so we opted out. But we've been able to pull them. What we do need to probably invest in is a second hard drive, so that when we do pull their hard drive, we have a second hard drive to put in there. Downloads are fast though. Once we get it in and out, it's a fast download, and it does store for up to 30 days. And we can pull specific dates. We can pull the whole thing, however we want to do it. But it's been a pretty easy little transition on pulling. And then the company did promise us a second dock for that, so we're gonna reach out to them, get that second dock, so that we can have that either probably at the high school. If Miss McDonald needs to pull a camera or pull a hard drive from there, they don't have to come to this office, they can pull from there.
Move on to SPED.
Special education, at 80th day, they was passed, no issues. They have been working on, which I believe is due, or was due, yesterday, or 11, number 11 was, it was indicator 13, so under the indicator 13 is looked at for any transition IEP, which is any students of the age of 14 or older. Things that are looked at are their goals, make sure that they're on track for graduation or for post-secondary, making sure that goals are updated annually, evidence that students were invited to IEPs, evidence that outside agencies, so when we have an IEP, we're inviting like UNM Taos or DVR or any type of outside agency to provide support to these students, and making sure that actually there was participation, so they looked at making sure that there was actual signatures in these IEPs, including that the student was included, because once the student hits 14, something are considered a transition IEP student, which they're part of their own IEP decision making. So we did get awarded a technology funding for students with autism. We're looking at purchasing something to the extent of a 3D printer. We looked at this because of the cost of manipulatives that we're buying these students. If we can produce these things in-house, which are like your little counting blocks, your little squares that they use, any type of fidget toys, things like that some of these students are using in the classrooms, anything that can relate to that, this grant would pay for that.
What was the amount? Received?
The received, it was like $1,800. Let's see what else. 9 students, that's kind of put. And then it also adds like an employment. We did reach out to, we've talked to a couple of different places that some of these students are, if they can learn how to use these printers, then it also gives them the ability to kind of look at it after school or after graduation type of employment for some of our students that do have more severe disabilities. Any questions on SPED? Technology, I refer to Mr. Mundy.
Hi, guys. I just want to say, in my line of work, I kind of get bogged down in the computers, the networks, and all that stuff. But Kimber's been working, asking us to get involved in the vocational building, and it's like, okay, we'll get this. But hearing the guys and what it means, I just I just want to say you guys are doing great, and I hope we're here to help you guys get to where you want to be. So, yeah. So the main thing we worked on, the fiber was not connected, switch wasn't working. We got that working. Let me see.
Was that to the White building?
Yes. Startup was really pretty easy. So, December was not too busy. Elaine had a problem with the doors. We don't think we want to touch that right now. But that's pretty much all I have.
What's the issue with the doors?
Sorry, that's not the right thing. We fixed it. It went bad. It shorted. So we think tomorrow we're going to be looking at the cabling. So.
It's not all the doors.
No.
It's not all the doors. It's I think in district it turned out to be like 11 doors, 11 or 12 doors.
And that's from the cases there.
Yeah.
And what we looked at was the possibility of piecing together to at least get a couple of those doors. But what we're finding is that it's not the pieces to the doors. A lot of it is it's not getting any power, which it runs off of the cabling. So we don't know if the cabling on the doors is bad, and so that's what the next step is, because we started piecing together. And the weird thing is that we're shorting out pieces, but these pieces are expensive.
Yeah.
So anytime you replace any of the little
Let's not pull those pieces and figure out the cabling, but I'm hearing.
Right. So what we did first was
crap, you're doing backwards.
We fixed it. We fixed the cabling. Well, we fixed the door with some spare parts, and then it went down again. So we came out and just did that one more time, and it only lasted for like an hour. So we feel that there's a short somewhere up in that.
These are the mechanisms that lock and open the door.
Yes. Yes.
So for
manual locks.
So for example, well, we have manual locks, but like for example, the one and the big one that we've been kind of focusing is that glass door that goes once you pass the front entry to Alta Vista, you go to the left and that glass door. That glass door actually has one of those locks on it. So that's where we started looking in, because what we were getting is we were getting the power light, and so when we troubleshot it with the company, because, me and Robert had pulled these, and when we troubleshot, he said, well, are you getting any light? And we said, we're getting a red light, and he said, well, if you're getting a red light, you're getting power, so you have a short somewhere else. So when we did that, we reached out to Bill, we told him, well, this is what they told us, this is where the short is, we should have a red and a green light, we're not getting the green light. The green light's running to the actual mechanism that, which is the big magnet that locks it. And so he came out, they fixed that, it didn't last. And so we reached back out to the company, says, well, your module's probably gone. So we looked at the module, we just looked up the number, and the module number, and when we pulled that, it was $127 just, and I promise you, it's a little tiny piece this big. And I said, well, do you think, so that's where Bill says, I'm getting power from here to here, so if I'm getting power from here to here, then it's running the main cable line, which
Yeah,
is.
the switches power those
Yeah.
things. So,
What voltage are you supposed to get at each module?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but it's either gonna be 12 volt or 24. So if it's 12, that's all that the switches put out.
They have backup batteries?
They do have backup batteries, but the batteries they've been removed. So I don't,
have to have batteries.
I don't know,
to have a complete circuit,
I don't
right?
know why they're, cause we've been in
Well,
that.
Depends on how they have it wired.
Like the gates that we used to have up there, the line, if the batteries went
So
out.
you're asking like if these do not have a backup battery?
No.
No.
No, the switch continuously powers them, so if you
switch
really
has-
wanna back up the switch.
Switch
then-
has-
Switch has a
yes,
backup battery,
yes,
yeah.
ABC or whatever on the switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so, you know, we knew, the first time we were able to get them up, but we couldn't communicate, like if you added a new user, we couldn't communicate with various, of these units throughout the network. So we knew there's gotta be some kind of a partial power, something going on. We know, I think I talked about last time, the MDF there in the elementary has a lot of interference, and I've got a guy coming tomorrow, and Dave, that's gonna be their only job, is to just see if they can determine what's causing that. Until we get that fixed, I don't recommend getting new parts, because when we cobbled them up, it just shorted it, so, you know, we gave it a try, so now that's the next step, is, if you're gonna stay with us. I think we gave a quote for every door that needs, we don't know if there's 3 different components in it. We don't know if it's which one of those components is bad, so we just said, here's a quote to replace, it's like $12,000, just to get the ones that aren't working. So you don't wanna spend that money until we figure out maybe what's causing it, and this door here is the one that we're really focusing on to see if it'll work.
Have you picked out a place to put a new server room?
We were just talking about that today as well. That's gonna be a major, it's not gonna be a small thing, because the way those cables go up, and John and I were talking today, if you wanna really move that, we may have to start almost from scratch, from the jacks back. That's a long project. I don't even know if a month with a team of qualified people, so we talked about the timing of that, and I think that's something that we can be part of the team that will help you determine who the best team is to do that. You know, I can do 30 cables, but to do a 400 cabled patch panel, that's gonna take a lot of resources. So I think that's something we should probably try to get, you know, a cabling company in here to give you a quote. It could be, I wouldn't say 100,000, but it's gonna be probably 70,000 to do something like that. So, in the meantime, if we can determine what the problem is, we may be able to not have to, you know, have that kind of project. If we can figure out what's going on in there. Like you said, there could be
I'd say,
machinery.
Internet's a money pit.
Great.
I'd say like, it's easier to do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yellow paper.
Like I said,
You got a lot of yellow paper, huh?
You know,
Now what they say when their credit card's going in.
I'm trying not to do that. You know, this is something that, we have to try to see if we can get it done in a cheaper.
Yeah, no, that upstairs
Well, the
server
gentleman-
room is.
The gentleman I'm bringing with, I've known him for years, and he was actually, I think, part of the build out of that, so he'll be able to have maybe some insight, but I think it's some huge interference. You have over 400 or 500, I'm probably exaggerating, but ports, right, patch panel ports, that you really don't need that anymore. we just did a job in Vaughn that they had about the same amount, a much smaller school. And now with the, you know, what do you need, printers, phones, access points, a few ports? They went from 3 chassis with, you know, all those blades down to 5 switches. So it doesn't have to be as big as it is, but it's still gonna be a major job, because once it goes up into that ceiling, I tried to trace a few, I can't even physically do that in an easy way, so.
It goes to a crawl space and disappears.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's a couple of shorts in the back of some of the panels, and that might be the problem.
So that, and we've talked about this, a second issue that when it does go up into the ceiling is, an elementary has a drop ceiling, and the reason it has a drop ceiling is because those panels have asbestos, and so once we start messing with the rest of it, then now we have to drop ceiling the remainder of what gets touched.
Yeah,
And
there's
so there's a lot that goes into that whole project.
you know, I don't know how many conduits, right? You could pull those down, maybe somehow on the lower ceiling, maybe we could find them, but
You won't find.
no, and then you're down, once we do that, so this is not something super simple, but,
It's gonna be a cut and retrace it all.
Mm-hmm.
yep. So, maybe we can find out what the culprit is easily here, maybe, you know, it's all Cat 6, there's really no need to upgrade the cabling, but, that's, hopefully we have some kind of a beginning of an understanding of what's causing the problem tomorrow. The last thing about the vocational is, we got internet over there now, we just don't have, analog
Intercom.
PA system, so we've got a solution for that. But again, that's a trench that we're not gonna, so we're gonna do maybe a few IP-based speakers that will be able to communicate, so we got an idea, we got.
Yeah, there's no need to go back to the old school.
Yeah. Problem is, those speakers are expensive, but, they're like $450 a piece, so.
We have radios.
That's a lot cheaper than a trench.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and you only need maybe 3, so that's why we say, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yellow paper.
Printering.
Send a kid.
Send a kid.
Send a kid. That's what
We were at that point,
Pigeons
remember?
are kind of cheap.
That's what we call our 7th graders.
Bueno, anything else for tech before we move on to athletics?
I want to say something real quick. So I'm going to change hats from my from the vocational side to the technical side. So on the computer side, I've already requested new computers. The computers we were using before, they're old. I think I just requested
15.
Oh, did I? Okay. I was like, I'm not sure. I wanted to request like 30 to replace all the old ones, but I was like, okay, maybe we can get 15 or so. But they're not running. We have Adobe capabilities, which is fantastic for Creative Clouds for doing digital film and everything. But we can't use the computers. They just die every single time we put the programs in them. So this is even for other things, for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any programs that we need, they need to be upgraded there. I think they got to be at least 10 to 12 years old already.
These are the desktop Macs that we have that run like Photoshop and digital film and that kind of thing, so only for that coursework.
Yeah.
We don't have appropriate machines. No.
No.
So Chromebooks don't have, yeah. So this would be only for lab-based classes that are digitally based.
Yeah, we've tried to make them work. They have like
nothing
4 meg. and
We've
just-
fought with them and fought with
That
them.
motherboard is maxed.
They're pretty.
Can be 10 or 12, I'd have those.
What's that?
No,
We can-
they're
They're that
probably-
old, bro.
They ain't that old, we want those.
They're that old.
Thing in the back of Kelly just graduated.
He keeps thinking that way.
They're probably 8 years
They're
old.
probably 8.
I bet they're 8 years
Probably
old.
8.
I'm not having a
Yeah.
10-year reunion yet.
If they have
And
Oregon Trail on them, I probably.
That's right there.
They're what?
Huh?
Well, that white
You know,
paper.
they, yeah.
Back in the day when I was here, we had white paper.
Yeah, your color looks good, yeah.
Continue to upgrade.
Well, I think you guys are doing great work. Thank you guys for sticking it out. We knew this whole IT thing was gonna be a challenge, and it's sure proving to be that.
I will say this though, you know, we put those bridges in and we haven't had a lot of downtime. We may have some slowdowns, but the internet, we have a little, monitor on the incoming and it's only gone down one time in the last 30 days. So, we haven't had any issues within the school, within the different schools over the bridge here, so there is that. It's, we were just talking about maybe, everything's, besides the high school, everything else is on a wireless connection. We're not doing that at those LTSs, and, that's another expenditure if we wanna fiber them directly. Okay. So, yeah, there's a few options, but none of them are
Cheap.
cheap. Yeah.
Thank you for being present in the boardroom to talk to.
Sorry, I
Really appreciate it, and I know you gotta get back to Albuquerque. So.
I'm staying tonight, I'll be here first thing in the morning, she's got lots of work for me to do. No. Yes, I do, so, but I appreciate you guys, thanks. Yes, I got it in my car, that's the other thing, these Chromebooks are great, but they have about a 10% failure rate. So, we just make, out of that 10%, 90% of those 10% are fixable under warranty. But it's, pick it up, call them, get them, it's just time consuming, so we're on it. So, all right, guys, thank you.
Thank you. He's like,
Mr. Grego,
Alright, you guys got my athletic report in front of you guys there. Athletics is going well right now. We got middle school basketball just finished up. Gonna start district play starting tomorrow. Got the kids making a long trip to Escalante tomorrow. Shouldn't be so bad. We're gonna play JV games in both gyms. So we'll do 2 JV games at the same time, so they shouldn't get home suicide late, so that'll be nice. It's nice of them over there.
we gotta go around. Did you check your Uncle Pass? It was closed today.
It was closed.
Yeah, he's gonna go through the long way, through Espanola.
Voted.
Yeah, he's gonna take the journey tomorrow, so then we're gonna go early tomorrow. And then we got sign-ups for spring sports. The last day for spring sports sign-up is January 27th. Trying to get all the athletes to sign up. That way we can get a head count.
What is the spring sports?
It is EA Sports, esports, baseball, and track. Middle school track.
Who's the esports coach?
What is that?
online sports.
Like they play online basketball or?
Yeah.
That's what they're gonna do?
They're gonna be in Call of Duty.
They wanna.
Call of Duty, it's Madden, NBA, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers.
Professional video games.
Smash Brothers, I don't like the sound of that.
And there's one more,
One day you have to go dust off his old
You
Nintendo.
have to blow it out.
Yeah, it's a few billions of dollars.
I think it's like 60.
Call of Duty, but I don't have the hands for it. Sold back out.
Mr. Grego, how is the bus still running to Questa for the students?
We were doing that just for middle school.
Just,
sports.
okay,
Yeah,
so now that it's done,
Yeah.
And then we'll pick it up again during track season.
Did the activity bus get a camera too?
Yes.
The blue one
Yes.
got a
The
camera?
blue one did, I believe, the other one did not because it expires next year.
service.
I got a question. Can we get announcing Pledge of Allegiance, singing something before the games? I don't want to be the only school that doesn't do that. Let's do something. It's like all quiet on them. Keep going.
Yeah, we can get
Just to do a little something. Domingo's gonna have to speak or Ms. Vina. Ernie.
I don't mind helping either if I'm there.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me.
Do the national anthem.
No, I won't sing.
You'll sing?
Yeah.
That's fine.
You had the clerk reach out to if they've been wanting to do a few more games.
Yeah, and something would be nice. Miss Kimber, she likes to talk, she can announce
You
names.
can sing, Kimber.
Guitar.
There we
You
go.
and Bill.
I know there is a student who has been working on his electric guitar.
And we recruited,
national anthem.
we put out there that I would help kids working on the national anthem, so we're working on it. It's a confidence building thing.
No,
The
yeah.
guitar, he did do it, and we played it for a few games. He recorded it. He was too.
And he played it for homecoming.
Yeah, he did play for homecoming. So we're working on it.
Just
We're getting there.
still.
It's pretty sick.
Rocky,
It's
yeah.
pretty sick.
Reminds me of Rudy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rudy did good.
Yeah.
Athletics, anything else?
That's aging.
The only other thing for the athletics, I don't know, does the district meet every year for junior high to reset the schedule if they both go together, or if we do boys first? You guys meet every year for that? Yeah.
So we'll have a district meeting.
Yeah, we have our district one.
Is there any way we could go back to the way it was boys first, girls, or girls and then boys?
Let us reach out to these other districts and see if they can buy into it too. So that
Some,
we-
it worked so much easier for athletics that way.
Well, I know we kind of did it like now, like right now it kind of helped us because we both ended, like right now we wouldn't be able to use our boys for JV. So we
Right.
kind of have to cancel our boys JV season. So that's kind of the reason why our district's kind of leaned towards
go
the
at
way
the same
we've
time.
done
To
this
go
way.
longer, yeah.
It's just so we could kind of use our junior high athletes at the end of their season to finish out our JV seasons against each other.
Okay.
You know that ninth graders can play 8th grade basketball?
No.
But
How did he play down?
You can. And according to A and AA schools, 9th graders can play junior high basketball, play with the 8th graders.
Well, junior high
Yeah,
sports
it's
in general,
big.
like they even probably do track.
Some of these
Like the
guys
junior
do.
high football.
So
We're not gonna do that.
No, well, see, and the reason this came up was because in the NRG, our girls got beat by Mesa Vista. Well, when I pulled the thing, we had already beat Mesa Vista, and I said, well, where did we get beat by Mesa Vista? So I pulled, and I was looking at the roster. Well, the roster had 9th grade girls on it. So when I pulled the NMAA stuff, it states that a single A and a double A school can pull their 9th graders down to play with the 8th graders. And so, because we have the ability to send kids up and play 8th grade as high schoolers, and they can actually drop back down, whereas like in AAA and above, they can't drop back down to play 8th grade. So because I think one year in volleyball, Springer did that to you guys, where Springer had a girl that was really good. She played varsity, and then all of a sudden she came and played junior high. And it's like, what the heck? And so,
Tierra did it last year. They had girls that played
yeah,
all 4, 7, 8 JV and varsity.
yeah.
It is, but we had to
Yeah.
file something and we beat them really bad. I wasn't gonna file something. That'd be silly.
You follow that, that's not, people won't learn if you don't teach them.
No, well, we recorded it, but not like the full, with the officials, yeah.
So like that deal, does that have a JV team on it?
It does have a JV.
No way.
Yeah.
So those 9th graders
So-
could go
so
down there and play.
No, well, JV's high school, so you can
Oh,
play.
there's no middle school.
There's no middle
Yeah,
school.
no, no, no.
There's only JV.
But 8th graders can
8th
play up
graders
one
can
side.
play.
So they can play up.
Yes, they can play up. So you have your 4 that, because like most of them are 4-player teams, and so the 4 players are your I guess your better 4 are your varsity, and then your next 4 are your JV team, and so you can play a varsity and a JV season. Yeah.
This ain't the thing with the goggles on.
No,
is it?
not yet. Not yet. Eventually it'll get there. But no, that was. Hey, that's how Miss McDonald's going skiing next year.
It's gonna be e-skiing.
Yeah.
Retro cheap, huh? But does it need the internet?
It does.
We're good to
No,
go.
we're good. We're good with internet.
On to the super report.
Been working a lot with the school attorney on personnel issues. That's supposed to be personnel, not personal. Personnel issues, policies, and
Nice.
You better not be billing ours.
That's all right, that's
Some
the
personal issues, huh?
I know. So, been working on that, a lot of that stuff with her. We do have these policies up and ready to go. In executive, we can touch a little bit on a few other issues that, have come about. Rate button, got it up and running. I got the training finally. I need to get it out to staff. The rate button is a pretty cool button. It's, automatically will send out to all staff once they have it installed. if there's emergency, staff can also send, and the cool thing is we're linking it with fire department and police department once we get all of our people trained on that. And so it does fire, any kind of emergency in the sense of like an active shooter, somebody on campus that should not be on campus, if we need to move into lockdown, any type of emergency. It's a real neat little system. So I've been working with them. It's free to us.
Did you send them your floor plans?
Yes. Yeah, sent over all our floor plans. He has it in there. You can actually even go in and for like you guys, if I put like fire in whatever, it will show you the exact location of where it's at. It's on there. I can zoom my map however I want. So I went in and renamed the buildings, did all that because I think it was just building 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, something to that extent. So I was able to rename everything, and that's kind of working on the groundwork. Input all the staff emails and staff names. I just need to get them trained before he'll release the app to them. And so we're working on getting an after-school training. It only took about 30 minutes to get the whole spiel on how it works and everything else. So that will kind of help us with that. I did explain to him about like the electric gates, if we were to move to electric gates, and he said these things will actually work with those electric gates, that if you needed to close the electric gate right then and there, from that it can connect to it. There's a little system they will put in there, and they'll hit the button on that. So that's kind of something that we're hoping to move forward with that. Tillery, I had a good meeting with Tillery. They came in the other day after our buses came back. Found out that we can actually, instead if we don't want to move into the auction end, we can actually trade in vehicles. So we did kind of ask him if he'd give us kind of a rough estimate of what a trade-in on these vehicles that we were looking at disposing of would be.
Trade-in where?
To Tillery. Yeah. And he asked, what are you in the market for? And I said, maybe a couple of Suburbans so that we can transport students, things like that. He says, I have like 7 on the lot, ranging about 55,000 to 65,000, depending on what you're looking for. Nice thing is that that's something that we did send to the legislators, because I did tell Gabe, might as well put that in. If they're throwing money to us for transportation and those type of things, and let's go ahead and throw it in. So we did add those, I think 3 vehicles or something like that. So we'll see what kind of trade-in they'll give us and what the value of those trades will be. It's done as long as it's, and I said, is it done like correctly? Because I know you can get in trouble with, he says, nope, he says it's done. We've done it with multiple districts. There's a way that you do it as long as it's, it was through CES, and we're a CES vendor, then it can be done. So that's kind of where we had that discussion. Been working on a Department of Energy grant. That's the one that I kind of brought up, came out from Heinrich's office. So I've been back and forth with them. I have till the 26th to get them a proposal of what we're looking at doing. So I'm working about 80% done with that, and should have it completed by the end of this week, if not the end of this week, by beginning of next week, get that out to them. Then the actual application is due April 21st. This is just kind of a proposal of what we're looking at doing. And so once I get that out to them, then if we do, then we move forward with the actual application. But this is the first part. From talking with Heinrich's office, he said that there's only like one other school in the state that's looking at doing this grant. So our odds of getting, there's $500 million that are sitting in it right now. So of getting something is pretty high if that's the case. He said, I can't speak for other states, but I can speak for this state. I think I've only had one other person even create the initial application process, and he said, and he says, but that doesn't mean they'll get everything turned in. So we will get everything turned in and we'll move forward.
What does the grant entail? Like, what are you asking for?
It's heating and cooling. It's to change out all the heating and cooling type of stuff. So it's all to do with that, and it's more to move into the energy efficient and to redo all that to help with the air circulation.
Can you do lights?
Huh?
Can you do
Lights don't fall under that. It's strictly for the heating and cooling.
Yeah. What's the amount you're chasing?
Anywhere between, when I talked to Heinrich's office, I said, what's a fair? He said, I would chase anywhere between 2 million to 5 million. So that's what we're gonna
Let's go
chase.
for 4.9.
So, yeah.
So heaters and everything.
Well, he said it could be even higher. What they're looking at is how many applicants they have, and then they're gonna base it off of there. So if you're talking 500 million and you only have 30 applicants, now you're dividing that 500 million between those 30 applicants. So that's kind of why this came about, and started looking into it, reached out, and he says, hey, thank you, because he says, I sent this to every district, and I only had your district and another district, put a hit on it, and he said, and I saw you created your page already and did what you needed to do, and now I'm gonna walk you through the steps of the next step of the process, and he said, just make sure it's in by the 26th, so, we'll get that in as soon as possible. I hope to have it in by, like I said, the end of this week, if not the beginning of next week. So next thing is NMSBA conference planning. I do have a meeting tomorrow. There was an in-person, but I did ask for a Zoom link of that. It's to kind of look at the legislative platform with Mr. Stan Rounds and kind of see what they did send out the stuff that Joe Guillen sent out today or yesterday, showing what they're kind of proposing. I have a rougher breakdown of different comparisons from last year to this year, and then what they're looking at, like sustainability to over the next couple of years. I can share that as well, just to kind of look at the differences. It breaks down every area of the education. Kind of like you asked earlier, and I know we can talk more in that, but I can touch a little bit because on that same part is when we talk funding, there's a lot of funding that's going into like those K5 plus programs and those type of things that are talking like an additional $119 million to kind of fund those. And so when we're talking like those enrichment Fridays, we can kind of touch the state has kind of pulled some of those regulations back. And we'll discuss that more in the calendar committee discussion part. Worked a little bit more with Gabe. Gabe did send some stuff over. He came by, we did sit down, look at, and we did send over all of those things that we're asking for to the legislative committees. They actually did reach out and say they received them, and they would enter them into the capital outlay projects process. And so,
yeah, they did it in-house, I guess, no?
did you guys do it?
They went to 5-star.
Yeah, I wasn't able to.
I was hoping that she would come and see the facility.
Yeah. So, like I said, again, Tillery, Elite, we've been working with E-rate. That's something that we're gonna need to get together, figure out where we wanna go with E-rate. If we're looking at cabling, we do already have the 470 from last year that we can carry over, 470 for like our internet service, which we're getting a good, 90% of that's paid for out of E-rate, so we'll carry that over, but then there's some additional, like category 2 that we can look at, and that could be things, and so we have until February 28th to get the 470 in, and then March 28th to get the 471 in, so we gotta make sure we move. 470 is a little bit more of a generic of what the plan is, but then the 471 is a more detailed of what the cost is and things like that. And so one of the things we did talk about is like upgrading the firewall for sure, with the category 2, because I know that right now our firewall is pretty outdated, and I know we've kind of talked about that, but if we can get that E-rate to take care of that, yeah, then we can do that. So we're working on some of that stuff. We probably will see if we can schedule a meeting with the tech committee so that they can be involved in what we're looking at with the E-rate. Like I said, we want to get that to be on the safer side, probably about mid-February at the latest, but we've started that conversation already on how to move forward with that. Our guard shacks are both here. We need to look at getting electricity put to those, and we'll go from there. Do have a person that will be manning the one at the high school, and so we're good for the time being. They'll be in the old one until we get the new one because it's pretty cold in there. Without any type of heat in there at this point in time. No, they'll have to be finished, and that's where I did talk to Mr. Warnock and them about being able to do that project and do something. We can look at solar too, and that would be a heck of a lot cheaper. So
probably close, but it'd be.
Well, I think over the long term, it would be. So yeah, we can make it. And then after
Got holes so you could run them overhead.
So
they do it in Puerto Rico.
that's how they do it. UNM dual credit, and actually, I think, was she the dual credit person?
Yeah.
Because we had a conversation, phone conversation, we have an in-person meeting, they have some new opportunities that they want us to explore. I don't remember what day we set that for, do you remember? Friday? So we do have a meeting with UNM dual credit, I thought actually that's why she had come.
Who's she?
That's Mr. Baca's wife.
Mr.
Jeannie
Baca's
Baca.
wife,
Oh, that's,
So she's actually the new head of dual credit at UNM Taos.
yeah.
So they have, if they created a new position.
Yeah.
And it is really focusing on career technical education. It's a huge amount, so we've got a nice link there.
Who took over for, what's her name, Dr.
Bonavita.
Dr. Martinez.
Bonavita or Dr. T?
Bonavita.
Dr. T took over for her. Trisha Martinez took over.
She's kind of moved up.
Bonavita was good.
Yeah, she was.
And then last is just our 80-day report, they get that back, we passed all areas, we did have an increase in enrollment on the 80th day, even from the 40th day,
More from
we had,
More than the 40th?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so we did have that increase, it was like an increase of 3 students, which is 3 more students. And
Well, we had a student enroll today,
40th
like
day.
it's
Yeah.
still staying.
So we did have that, the bad thing is the 40th day is what they actually fund the
Right.
SEG portion for, but we did have an increase, so if we keep those students, then we'll see it.
That's crazy, they let you amend that.
They should, or they should take an average of
I-
the 3.
I don't know why they
I
don't
thought
take
it
it
was an average of the 2.
No, it's
Only for sped.
only for
And
sped,
Yeah.
bilingual.
And bilingual.
bilingual.
Yeah, for us,
Yeah.
they average them.
but everything else is the 40th day that they take here.
Mhm.
And then like the 80th day is your transportation count and things like that, so. But we did see an increase in our numbers by about 3 students, so.
Any other questions for superintendent report? No more questions, and we'll move on. Executive.
Maybe do that once, twice.
We move on to executive session.
You could leave, oh yeah.
Well, I was waiting for,
Oh, you can stay for the.
I haven't gone home yet.
We won't be
I'm
long.
eating dinner.
I thought you were eating pizza.
Also, friend's job.
Some more.
No, I think so.